I'm Tara Christie, President and CEO of Banyan Gold. Here to talk about our AurMac project, which is very exciting. We put out an updated mineral resource, 2.2 million ounces of indicated and 5.4 million of inferred. But within that, if you look at a 0.55 cutoff, 4.55 million ounces of close to a gram. And that's really what's driving our story right now, is that high-grade core. We're targeting with our drill program this year 5 million ounces of plus 1 gram. And I think that's starting to get attention. Great project. You know, we've already got power and roads on the property. We've been de-risking it on several fronts, and it's been a great year, and we've been rewarded for it.
You have, especially recently. The shares are flying. But we'll talk about that in a second. Updated resource. It's big. It's big enough, right?
It's big, but it's that core high grade, and that's actually what's got attention. Is the new geological model is a lot more lithologically constrained, so our credibility that it's continuous and that the gold's there has certainly been part of the attention that we're getting. You know, that's whether it's big enough or not. We hear a range. You know, some people tell me 10 million's not too big, keep drilling. Some say no, that was really important, getting that threshold. Our focus right now is to show that 5 million ounces of high grade, because that's what drives your mine plan, and that's what gets everybody thinking, changing the perception. This is a high grade deposit. The core of it is significant. A 1 gram gold deposit in this gold environment is a pretty significant thing. There are not very many of them.
Yeah, and I think gold prices also change people's approach to how they drill, where they drill, and what they focus on, for sure. But look, you've also, so I'm going to kind of go through the highlights for me. Seem to be, okay, the updated resource is great. You've been drilling a lot this year as well, so chasing after this high grade, presumably. You found some super high grade stuff in there, not your 1 gram per ton stuff, but something else going on. So
9 grams, 11 grams, even up to 100 grams.
Right.
One 539 gram intercept, short. That was a short intercept,
Sure.
but high grade exists in this, and that's some of it's at that contact with the skarn in the skarn deposit, where we've got a dike. And we can see it. It was only at 65 meters depth. That was a drill hole last year, you know, the 16 meters of 9 grams, which we followed up with 40 meters of 4 grams this year. And that's where that contact is. The whole up dip part of it, we haven't drilled. It's all classified as waste in the current resource, because we simply, there's not enough drill density. So, you know, we're focusing on following the high grade projections of the 1 gram plus stuff in power line, which we can see really clearly with our modeling, connecting the deposits. We think there's more high grade in there, and then that exciting high grade right near surface in airstrip. And we've been pretty successful with our targeting this year. So yeah, look to see people start to think about us as having a significant component of high grade.
So was that confusing for you? Was it confusing for the market? Because you know it's a kind of bulk tonnage. You got a lot of it, and it's, as you say, moving from say 0.6 to 1 gram per ton is significant, and certainly in this market. But you're getting this like super high grade double digit stuff as well. How do you plan the drilling? Like, say, what have you done this year? About 118,000 meters, something?
28,000 meters as of this morning, so almost 130 drill holes. We've only released 20. We have a lot of drill holes to come yet.
Got it.
So, but our targeting is based on our geological model and being able to project this dike, and we actually think we have a couple dikes in the airstrip deposit. And remember, we didn't hit that high grade before because we didn't focus on airstrip. We didn't drill airstrip because it didn't heap leach well. Now that we're looking at a mill scenario, and when you've got this many ounces, it's going to be a mill. That's going to drive, your economics are driving it, and your recoveries, 90%. That's what we're focused. So now we're focusing on airstrip, and we know it has lots of room to grow. We simply didn't drill it for a few years because it wasn't our focus, but we know we can add a lot of those high grade ounces there. So 50% of our drilling actually has gone into airstrip, 40% into power line, and then 10% into pure blue sky. Because we've got 400 square kilometers, we have drilled less than 5% of it. So lots of targets. We did that geophysics last year, combined that with our geochemical database and a little bit of AI, and that combined with our geologists. And our geologists are still trump, I think, the AI, because you can see patterns with AI, but you need the geologist to really understand the model. So yeah, we've drilled a few holes that are quite distal to our existing resource. We're going to probably drill out on our Nitra project now that we've had time to get some targets there this fall. We're trying to get organized for that, and I think you'll see us do some exciting big step outs.
Well, you're excited. The market's
I'm
excited,
always
for
excited.
sure. Well, yeah, and but I'm just in the setup here, right? What are you going to be? You know, and where do you take it to, and where do you hand it over, right? Because you're describing, if you've only hit like 5% of the land package, it's like there's a lot more work to be done. There's a lot more opportunity upside. But at some point, the market says, "Show me the money. Show me the money." So what are you building? Let's start with that.
Well, I think this will one day be mine. That to me would be
Right.
personal, whether, and I expect somebody else will build it. That's the most likely scenario when you play the odds of this market with all the M&A and these gold prices and the fact that it's a very rare deposit. So what are we even right now? People kind of go, "Oh, your share price has run." And I say, well, we're just catching up. When you look at us compared to even our peers in the district on a per ounce basis or an EV basis, we are still well below. I think we got lots of room to continue to add value. And we're getting to those important thresholds of both the liquidity and market cap where we start to see very sophisticated and institutional players. And that's what we're seeing here at Beaver Creek. A lot of people that we were too small for, we hadn't de-risked it enough, are now very keenly interested and can see that, the indicated, the new geological model, getting 100% of our property, getting away from all the noise down the street was certainly important. Those were also important catalysts. De-risking it, showing the recoveries are really high in the metallurgy. The package is all coming together, and I think that's going to put us in a new league.
Okay, well, as you say, a lot of kind of white noise and knock-on effect of a year or so ago. Have people kind of come back into the district? Have people come back into the econ? And
We've had so many site tours.
We understand how it's playing out.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I've almost, like the last 2 weeks, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're up on site tours. And so my daughter's not very happy about the lack of mom home on weekends, but it's been really strong interest from some quite sophisticated people, geologists and corporates that want to take another look.
Well, I think that's great because it was a one-off. It was a one-off. People coming back in, but you talk about the changing of the register as well. It's been a very retail stock, and obviously, your stock's been sort of recovering and now sailing way past that point. And
I still think we're recovering. We're still.
You still feel that?
$30 an ounce compared
I'm looking
to some of
since
our
June.
peers
I'm going. You've recovered.
Not for where we should be for the number of ounces we have.
Yeah.
And a world-class deposit that's actually a tier 1. That has roads and power. I don't feel that at all. Okay. And I get those questions a lot. And some of the institutions here absolutely don't believe that. And certainly the ones that are getting into the register now. Okay. We've traded 112 million shares plus since June. Fantastic. So that's a whole new.
But again, they're setting up for what they hope will come, right? Which is getting themselves positioned for you, like jumping onto indices, getting ETF, etc. And that institutional. That dynamic changes trading patterns. It changes, maybe the messages you need to send to market as well. So, what do those conversations look like for you now, and what do you think that kind of leads to corporately?
Oh, corporately, we're already starting to grow and adapt to be that market cap company. We set ourselves up for that this year, from everything we're doing in the field to our QA QC to our how we're approaching marketing, even going to institutional. And now that we have the liquidity, there is a lot broader group that can invest in Banyan and can see that vision. And so it's changed who we talk to and what our plans are here. And we've got to add a few people, not a lot, because we're still want to be cognizant of G&A, but the right people to get the company to the right phase. And so it's actually really fun. I love the growth phase where you can actually be planning ahead and being strategic. And we're being very, very strategic. Our drill program, our targeting's better than ever. Our geological model's giving us these projections, and we can see it in the core. We don't get assays, but we know that we'll have lots of exciting results through the fall. And with that deal with the receiver to get 100% of our property, we'll be able to push out the PEA a little bit to include all this drilling from this year, which we know is higher grade and is going to improve the optics. We've already done a lot of the work, like mine pits, in preparation for the PEA that was due in December, and we were planning to be early just in case there was. So that gives us a wealth of information. We know we're converting areas that are waste into high-grade 1 gram plus areas. So now, how does that change your economics? And people are seeing that. Areas that we didn't drill deep enough, we can add that so we don't have these artificial, humps in the pit. And some of those are some of those 1 gram plus or higher grade areas. And then that whole area of airstrip, the whole up-dip part, we hadn't drilled at all from where we intersected that dike. It's all classified as waste, but we can convert that and add it to our resource. So it's busy, but that's going to really drive the economics, and that'll be exciting.
Sure. But here's the bit that I kind of want to understand is, you've always been known as this sort of technically competent, excellent, finding the answers, doing it efficiently with a team who know what they're doing, right? They know the region well. But there's also and there's growth for sure, as you're outlining, for sure. Growth is there, but there's also the corporate. Coming back to the corporate component, because you're, say, maybe adding a couple more people to the team to be able to interface with that kind of corporate capital that's looking to get into big, meaningful stock, especially gold at the moment, and gold companies are being rewarded for that. But you yourself, the company needs to work out where it needs to be spending most of its time corporately. So lots of new money coming into the space, different kinds of money, US generalists coming into the space. I know you're cognizant of that, but how do you set yourself up? Because there's only one of you.
No.
Tell me about the team. Tell me about what you're charging them with doing, not just technically, but also corporately.
Well, I've got a bit bigger team here. I have a new VP of Corporate Affairs coming on fairly soon that has a lot of experience in that to help us make some of that transition. So we are very strategically hiring people, and people are coming to me. I'm having people, send me their resumes, say they want to join our team. There's all the other pieces that we now need to have to do, and we've had some strategic planning sessions as a team. What do we need? How do we need to grow? We made some key additions this year with our new VPX, Duncan Mackay, who came from Yamana, came from a mid-tier. So, that's cleaned up all that technical part of it. Kai Woloshin's been really taking care of all of the metallurgy, the baseline environmental, thinking ahead to what's going to be needed when this project goes into permitting, because you need to do that well in advance. The community relations, working with the First Nation, those are all things that we're taking very seriously, and certainly making sure it's not just drilling. Drilling's only one piece. There's all those other corporate pieces. And yes, communicating with the institutions and making sure that we've got the people, and it's not just me. And quite frankly, the bankers and the analysts, we just got Paradigm just put out a new report, $1.70 target price. There've been a bunch of conversations here with people that hadn't previously covered us who are, we need to pick up research coverage. So I think you'll see that happen fairly quickly, because people have taken notice, and that will help with our marketing efforts as well.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good as the team expands to deliver against all of those fronts, because it's different. We had a sort of company come in a couple of months ago, and it was a sort of takeover, management change 2.0, and it was quite surprising when they said, well, the company was good, but in terms of documentation, in terms of processes, so you'd kind of got to, as you were describing, you've got a mid-tier management team coming into a junior, which kind of got to a certain point, but the processes are different, the reporting's different, and they do know it's a different world, right? And I know you recognize that, but what are you seeing in terms of those sorts of actual changes on the ground, and do you like what you're seeing, or would you think, no, actually we had it all right?
Oh, you have to adapt to the times, right?
Yeah.
And we've been waiting for the right time and we've kept ourselves lean and mean, but now, we do need to make sure that we're ticking all the boxes. And we've got a pretty clear vision where we need to go and key people to help us get there. So I love that. It changes. I live for change, not, doing the same old. So I actually think, and someday if I get to pass the baton and this becomes a mine, that will be really great. Personal satisfaction. You build the team for the time, right? The team of early exploration, those aren't the people that are needed to do what we're doing now, the modeling, the growth, the de-risking it, and then you change the team as you get further on, and then when you get to mine building, you have to financing and mine building, and then operations is a whole different team. So that's the cycle of this business, and people have their own niches where their expertise is really valuable.
It's a funny thing, is because obviously the G&A profile changes. People are like, oh, they're coming down. No, we're doing more. We're
You're adding value. You
Adding
need
value,
to
yeah.
add, and G&A doesn't have to be hugely increased. You still need to be, I still want people that have skin in the game, that they're incentivized by their options, by their shareholdings aligned with me, because I've got a big shareholding. And you'll probably notice I had some options coming due in December, so I exercised them on 64 cents because I thought that's the low, so that then, I pay the tax now because I'm not going to sell, but I didn't sell a share of them because I think we've still got a long way to run here to get caught up. We should be $100 per ounce now, and we're still under 30. So there's a lot of room to continue to re-rate now, in my opinion. And
okay, well let's look at that in terms of because you've got to have a vision in your head as to what the company needs to look like and what it says and who it talks to and all those things to get that re-rate. Because companies are very good at coming and talking to me about we're undervalued and we need a re-rate and this has got to kind of. What do you think the shape of the company needs to be? You've had obviously previously exposure to big companies and how they're set up and what worked for them.
Yep.
Has the market evolved and changed? Is this just purely a margin game? Is this a scale game? What is it?
I think you need to check all the boxes for the big companies want to come into a jurisdiction where they're there for 30 or 40 years. And so you need the scale of deposit. You need to have done all those other aspects of it right as well. So I don't think it's just a margin game. But we're seeing huge cash flows in majors and mid-tiers.
Yeah.
We know that there's a few M&A processes going on right now that people are participating in who there'll only be one successful buyer.
Yeah.
We know that there's a sale process going on right down the road where there are people looking. So I think it's going to be a little bit of who's left out of when those processes and what are they? Our project's a very viable standalone project, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we're demonstrating that with the work that we're doing, and changing that perception to what's the 1 gram plus component of this? Does it hang together as a mine plan? Is it consistent? And we're seeing that consistency of mineralization. And people that come to see the site are blown away. The efficiency of our site, the fact that you drive right under a hydro power line, you have cell phone service. You drive onto site, and we've laid out core so you can walk across a section. So you see these sections in our presentation. Well, we have one where you can look at the section. We've laid out 1.5 kilometers of core, and you can look at this section of mineralization. We've got, this section's blue, and it corresponds to the blue of this, and then the red. So you can see the mineralized domains.
Right.
And that's really giving people confidence in the continuity of this deposit. So I think, we've hit it out of the park geologically, and it was very strategic what we did this year. This wasn't luck. Geology always has a little bit of that, but we knew that was there. We knew what we were drilling was going to increase the grade. We had to get a deal done with the receiver to clean up the ownership, get rid of that overhang. So we've kind of set it up, and we'll continue to have catalysts through the fall. Got a few other things that we're working on. We'll have lots of drill results, probably another 110, 120 holes. We've only released 20. So that I think will generate a lot of excitement to help us keep the momentum going.
Yeah, and there's a lot of momentum going, but there's also momentum in the marketplace. We obviously look at Agnico and Teck announcement. Well, we think we all knew yesterday, but announced today. And it reminds us that consolidation is a big part of the history of this sector, and the cash being generated is allowing M&A to happen globally. A lot of competition for the good stuff. You don't want to sell now, because you're only going to get a 30% premium or something, insulting like that. So you've got to be defensible, because ultimately you've got to tell that story to your shareholders and say, look, we have a long way to go. The multiples aren't right. We can deliver this. We don't need to take an offer now. So are you spending a lot of time saying to your shareholders that we can do more, we can get bigger, we can be a very different company in 12 months' time?
Well, I have very direct conversations with them. What share price would you sell at right now? And then if it's not where I think it should be, we have a conversation about why, and try to convince them. And my top 6 shareholders, roughly, maybe even my top 20, I've got over 50% of the shares. Even though we've traded a lot, knowing who they are and what their expectations are, kind of make sure that
you're aligned.
Yes.
Broadly aligned at the moment. So I guess they're going to want to hear, right, you got a decent treasury at the moment. We know what the drilling you've done this year is. How do you start kind of piecing this together for them and showing potential of this as a revenue generating entity at some point? Is there a kind of phased approach to this? Well, whatever your plan could be, or is it like, I think this is the picture we need to paint for someone to come in with a much bigger balance sheet and work up this whole district? What are you saying about the money that you've got today and how you deploy that?
So yeah, we've been saying that, you know, one, what we're executing in our program is hugely valuable.
Tick.
Two, there are different ways to look at this project, and
Yep.
different mining companies look at it differently. So we, you know, scale-wise. So the Paradigm report, they use 16,000 tons per day model. You know, what's the optimum model? A big company wants to see a larger scale. So so the work we've done actually gives that range, and you know, we'll have a data room when the time comes, and you know, that has all of the information that we've already run. We haven't finished a PEA yet, and we're going to incorporate this year's drilling into that, because
Fantastic.
I think it will add the most value.
What's the timing on that?
Well, we have to decide whether or not we are going to include the drilling in March, April of next year, because there are some areas which are better drilled when the ground's frozen. You do less environmental, and it's cheaper. So those, I guess, how important do we think those high-grade areas are? And some of them we know are really interesting and could add value. So you know, that would push the PEA out to the fall or Beaver Creek-ish for next year. We'll make that call here just once we get a few more.
Which one with the higher
results.
grade 1 gram per tonne, or which one with the higher grade double digit?
Both.
Both. Okay,
Both,
so
yeah.
all and that would all feed into the same process and
The same
metallurgy
updated resource
and
that ends into
got
the
it.
metallurgy. We've been continuing to advance that. We've really done that more to a pre-feasibility study than a PEA level, and we'll continue to do that because that's hugely valuable. That's what corporates want to see. Can you recover the gold? How much work have you actually done to show that? So how coarse can you get? How can you reduce capital costs, operating costs? We're able to really advance that.
Okay, so that's the kind of time frame we're dealing with. Potentially waiting for Q1, Q2, inclusion of Q1, Q2 drill results into a PEA. That's a great moment for you, putting a set of numbers on this thing, and knowing that you've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, and it's a very conventional flow sheet, so people aren't going to be like, oh, that's hard. That is going to be a great moment. You know, we were excited about doing it now and the numbers with these gold prices, but I'm even more excited about being able to include this year's drilling, because you know, we haven't, only 20 holes out from this year's program, lots more to come. So thank you.
Super exciting for you. Well done for bringing this whole thing together, and that's been a sort of there's a lot of moving parts, and you've done it.
A 10-year overnight success or 8-year overnight success.
Well done you. Well done you.
It's been a slog, and these prices now are rewarding people, and I think we're just starting to see, you know, the retail market really hasn't even come in. We're just seeing the smart institutions start to take positions in companies like Banyan. So
they position themselves early. It's quite nice, and if you're retail, you may want to pay attention to that particular bit. See you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.